Alright, some of the basic tools you're going to need. Give yourself a couple of rasps. Here's a 4-in-1, which is nice for final touches. You need these two tools to make the end cap and the spout plug. You also are going to want a tack hammer. You can use a regular hammer, but this just makes things easier. You're going to want some tacks. I chose copper tacks. You can also use brass tacks. I think they kind of give it a nice decoration. You're going to want a wooden dowel, hardwood. This is an oak dowel. This is a 3/8 inch dowel. You're going to want a 1/2 inch pine board. This is for the internal parts. I'll show you about that in more detail. This part is not seen in the final product, so it doesn't have to be anything pretty. You're going to want a 1/2 inch hardwood. This is nice if you can get a nice tropical wood, but this is just a piece of red oak board. You're going to want a drill index, which is nice for drilling the spout for the horn. A hole saw is nice with the drill to help drill out the caps for the back part of the horn. You want glue, some sort of glue. This is shoe glue, or you can use epoxy, which will go with the plug made out of this pine board. You also want a bone saw if possible, or a hacksaw, which is nice for cutting off the tip of the horn. In addition to that, you're also going to want some paste wax to finish the horn, some wood glue. This will glue the hardwood outer cap to the pine inner part that we're going to make, and then linseed oil. This will be a nice finish to the wood parts. This paste wax is a nice finish for the horn itself. As far as the horn here, this horn is sanded and the ends are already rounded. I bought this at Tandy Leather. It's easier than starting with a raw horn. If you start with a buffalo, the black buffalo horns, they tend to be more difficult to make round on the base there. So just do yourself a favor and just buy the sanded finished horn. It's much easier. There's no scales to remove. You don't have to remove the inner part of the horn. So as your first project, I'd recommend starting with this. Alright, the first step, which is also the step you're most likely going to mess up, is cutting the tip of the horn off and then drilling the hole. We might as well get started with that before we put any other work into the horn and just have it crack. So, what you're going to do is to find where it's hollow, the end of the hollow cavity, because the tip here is solid. You want to get yourself a piece of wire. And you want to fish that up through the center of the horn itself here, just to kind of find the end. And where it stops, we can mark that, and then we can lay that out along the horn, and we know that the tip is a good about 2 inches of solid. What we're going to remove 3/8 of an inch from the tip. To do that, we're going to use the bone saw, or you can use a hacksaw if you don't have one of these. Let's go ahead and mark this with pencil so we'll get an error going here. Alright. We want to make it a flat, straight cut. Okay, so there is our cut end, the tip removed. Now our next step is to drill a hole. We're going to go progressively larger with the drill bit. We're going to start off with the narrow one. So my first is going to be a 3/32, and the way you're going to drill, it's easy to go off to the side and get out. We want to go towards the center of the horn is where we're headed towards. So if that makes sense to you here, we're not going to go straight in. We're going to go kind of at an angle to hopefully get in the center of the horn and off the sides. Okay, our first hole's in. We're going to just progressively make that a larger hole. Okay, the hole's done. I'm at 7/32 of an inch there. I checked to see how well it poured by pouring sand in there, and it pours just fine. So now, what do we have to do? Our next step is we're going to start making the rear plug. So you're going to take that pine board we had, you're going to trace around the base, and you can cut that out. If you happen to have a hole saw that's pretty close in size, maybe, but if it's not close, it needs to be slightly larger. You can always file it down for a fit there. So after you cut out this plug, you're going, and once it fits inside the horn, you're then going to cut the center out. All we really want is that ring. And this ring is going to be flush with the base of the horn and then glued in. And this is where the hardwood cap is going to sit and then be glued onto that. You don't have to cut the inner ring out. It slightly reduces your storage capacity, and it also adds slightly more weight. We'll wipe off the excess there, and it's flush with the bottom, and we'll just let this dry. And there you go. We'll get back to this once this dries, and we'll make the hardwood cap, and we'll keep going with this project. Okay, while I'm letting the horn dry, I figured might as well cut out the external plug. So I usually use a jigsaw. You can use a coping saw or a hole saw if you wanted to. So what I'm going to do is rasp and file down the burnt areas just from sawing, and then I want to bevel the top edge. I also want to make sure when I'm filing it down that it fits flush with the diameter of the horn. So I got a little bit of filing to do, but I wanted to bevel it and then glue this to the base using some Titebond 3, so waterproof glue. Alright, after quite a bit of sanding, I'm able to have my cap fit nicely against the base of the horn. To attach this, I'm going just to use my wood glue. I'm going to put the glue on this piece of pine here and then just set it in place. And then later I will drill a hole here. So let's go ahead and do that. First test fit one more time to make sure, because this horn is not totally round. I want to make sure I have the kind of the oval shape matched up with the base of the horn here. Okay. Okay, that's about right. I'll wipe the excess glue off, and I don't know how I'm going to clamp this. Probably just put it on its end, stand on its end there. Just hold it for a few minutes until that sets. But now the project has to wait again until this Titebond cures and the cap is glued on permanently.